Hi, I'm Rachel, and I'm ready to show you how to finish the chalk squared calendar florals. Look for a new calendar floral every month from Squareology. Each calendar floral can be finished as you see in a candle pan, and I'm going to show you how to accomplish that. If you look at the kit contents, we have a finishing kit that includes everything you need to finish your stitching into the candle pan shape. And then available separately is a candle pan to pop it into. So first you'll need your chart and your buttons, and then when you have that all stitched, you'll need your candle pan and a finishing kit. I've just stitched February, so let's finish it. I'm going to lay my stitching aside for now and move over to the steps for finishing. These pieces I have cut from the materials that are inside the finishing kit using the patterns that were provided inside the kit. So I have one circle of wool felt, 3 circles of batting, and 1 circle of a lightweight black fabric for lining my stitching. You'll also have in your kit a 4-inch wooden circle. Okay, so the first step is to cover the wooden circle with the black fabric. And underneath the black fabric is going to be batting to add dimension. So the first thing you need to do is stack your batting, smallest to largest, and flip it upside down so the largest is on top of the wood circle. Then you're going to sew in a long running stitch around the edge of the black lining circle. So first I'm going to take a stitch and secure my thread, and then I'm going to take long running stitches 1/4 inch or so from the edge of the fabric. I don't want to pull this tight as I go because I'm going to pull it tight at the end. Okay, now I've sewn around the perimeter, and I'm going to flip my batting and wood circle upside down in the center of the black lining fabric. See, I've left my needle attached, and now I'm going to be able to use this to pull the thread tight and make gathers on the back side of the wood circle. So just a little bit at a time, I'm going to tighten this, being careful not to break my thread. Got a nice puffy little circle, and I'm going to secure my thread by stitching through a couple of the gathers on the back and then sewing through my loop to make a knot on the back side while holding the gathers tight. I'm going to do that one more time. Okay, once you've got it secured, then you can trim the tail of your thread. Okay, so now we've got a covered circle, and we can lay this aside and prepare our stitching to go over the top of this. So I'm going to take the pattern piece from the finishing kit. This is the largest circle, and I'm going to lay it on top of my stitching. So first I need to find the center of my pattern. So I'm going to fold this in half, and then in half again. And looking at the fold marks, I'll be able to tell where the center is. So I'm going to poke a pin through the center of my pattern piece. Now, I've also found the center of my stitching by looking at the centering marks on my chart. And right now I have a pin holding that spot right here. So if I put the pin that's stuck through my pattern piece into the center on my stitching, then I know that my pattern piece is centered over top of my stitching, so that when I finish my piece, my stitching will be centered on the top of the circle. So now I'm going to pin this down to the linen, and I'm going to cut around the edges of the pattern piece. Now, a good way to check and make sure that your stitching is centered on the circle pattern is to turn it upside down and hold it up to the light, because you can see the circle behind the stitching. It looks like it's pretty well centered, so I'm going to lay it back down, and I'm going to use fabric scissors to trim around the edges. Okay, now I'm going to take my pins out and show you my circle of linen. Perfectly centered. Great. Okay, so now the next step is to gather the stitching, just like we did with our black lining fabric, into a circle that's going to be stretched around this piece. Okay, so I've sewn almost all the way around the edge of my circle, but I'm running out of thread here. So I'm going to keep going, but as I go, I'm going to pull it and it's going to gather up. But I wanted you to see how this works. So if you run out of thread when you're gathering, that's okay. You might have enough. If you keep going, you're just going to pull your gathers tight as you go. All right, now I'm going to fit my covered wooden circle inside here. I'm going to try to center it, and I'm going to pull my stitches tight. I'm going to turn it right side up and check to make sure that my stitches or my stitching is centered on the circle. I'm going to just kind of pull it from one direction to the other to center it until I like the placement. And then I'm going to flip it back over and pull tight again. You can check it as many times as you need to make sure it's in the right spot. I think mine looks good, so I'm going to secure my thread on the back. I'm going to do it like I did with the lining fabric and stitch through a couple of gathers and then sew back through my loop to make a knot. I'm going to do that twice. And then I'm going to trim my thread. Okay, so we have covered our circle, but now we need to put a magnet back here and cover these gathers so that you can drop it into there and have it stay. So the next step is to take a magnet. We like to use rare earth magnets, and mine is just glued to a button so it's easier to pick up. So I'm going to lay it in the center, and I'm going to apply hot glue along the edge of the gathers, and then I'm going to lay my felt circle on the top. so that my magnet will be loose in the center and my gathers will be covered, so it'll look really nice from the back. So I'm going to take it over here and apply my hot glue. And then push the wool felt into the hot glue and hold it down until the glue has a chance to cool a little bit. Okay. Now you have a finished calendar floral, and you can just pop it in to the candle pan and it will stay all by itself because it's got a magnet on the back. Thank you so much for joining me for today's tutorial.